Hello again, fourth grade. In today's video, we're going to work with adding and subtracting fractions when you have an improper fraction. Now, when you have, let me show you an example. 3/4 would be a proper fraction. It's less than 1/2. 10/6 is an improper fraction. 6/6 would be 1/2, but we have 10/6, so we have more than 1/2. When you have an improper fraction, convert it to a mixed number first. That's, in my opinion, that's the easiest way to do it. Then find a common denominator, and then add or subtract whatever your problem is asking you for. This one requires you to do some regrouping, which you don't have to do until 5th grade. I decided to go ahead and leave it in there. I'll show you this one last, just to give you a little preview for what you're going to see in 5th grade. So we're going to start out with this one. We have 20/12, and we are subtracting 9/8. So if you look at these, both of these are improper fractions. So we're going to convert both of them to mixed numbers first. I like to have a lot of workspace for these types of problems. So I have my notebook. I'm going to copy down this problem. And then I have some fraction bars that we will use to help us figure out what the mixed number would be. So for 20/12, that means you have 21/12 pieces. So let's count and make sure we have 21/12 pieces. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. We have 21/12 pieces. It's kind of like when you were first learning to count money, and you learned that whenever you collected 10 dimes, you could cash that in for a whole dollar. You couldn't change 9 dimes for a whole dollar because those aren't equivalent. But once you get 10 dimes, or once you get 4 quarters or 20 nickels, you could cash that in for a whole dollar. And that's kind of how you have to think about fractions. How many of these 1/12 pieces would it take for me to cash in for 1 whole? How many twelfths is equal to 1 whole? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. 12 twelfths is equal to 1 whole. So I'm going to cash those 12 1/12 pieces in for 1 whole. And let's see if we have another 12 pieces. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So we can't get another 1 whole piece out of this. So this is the part that's left over. So 20/12, I'm going to write that here on my notebook. The improper fraction 20/12 is equivalent to 1 whole and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 twelfths. 1 and 8 twelfths. So let's look at what we did. We had 20 twelfths, and we subtracted 12 twelfths. Okay, this is where that 1 whole came from. That's right here. Denominator stays the same. 20 subtract 12 is 8. So that is where the 8 twelfths came from. Now we have to work with these eighths. We have 9 1/8 pieces, 9/8. Let's make sure we have 9 1/8 pieces. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Okay, how many of my 1/8 pieces can I cash in for one whole? One, two, three, four, five, six, seven, eight. 8 eighths. So we have 9 eighths, and we're going to take away that 8 eighths, which is going to give me one whole. And that leaves 9 subtract 8 is 1. Denominator stays the same. That leaves 1/8. So we have one whole and 1/8 left over. All right, now we have our two mixed numbers. So we don't even really need this part anymore. We're going to work right here. Do your denominators like each other? No, they do not. So now we have to find a common denominator. So we have 1 and 8/12. And then we have 1 and 1/8. 12 is not a factor for 8. 8 is not a factor for 12. So we're going to be changing both of the denominators. So since we're changing the denominators, let's start by skip counting by the denominators until we find a common one, until we find the least common. 12 times 1 is 12. 12 times 2 is 24. 24 is a multiple of 8. 8. 8 times 2 is 16. Times 3 is 24. All right, now we have to count by the numerators to get our equivalent fraction. So 1, 2, 3, 8, 16. 12 times 2 is 24. 8 times 2 is 16. You cannot forget that you have whole numbers. We've got to add those back on. So we're going to use 1 and 16 24ths and 1 and 3 24ths. 1 and 16 24ths, subtract 1 and 3 24ths. All right, we're going to start by subtracting the whole numbers. 1 subtract 1 is 0. And guys, that's a ghost 0. And then 16 subtract 3 would be 13. Denominator stays the same. 13 is prime. The only factors for 13 are 1 and 13. 13 is not a factor for 24, so the GCF would be 1. 13 24ths divided by 1 would be 13 24ths. So the answer to 20 12ths subtract 9 eighths would be 13 24ths. Now this is a 4th grade standard. The next one that we're going to do is a 4th grade standard, and the word problem is this one. Like I said, we'll save it for last. We don't start regrouping with fractions until 5th grade, but I'll go ahead and just show you guys that one as a bonus. You guys were wanting me to show you some 5th grade math anyway, so we'll start with that. All right, so we have 14 tenths, and we're going to subtract 7 fifths. Now, 14 tenths, it's top heavy, so it's improper. 7/5 is improper. Okay, 14/10. We're going to come over here. How many tenths could I cash in for one whole? 10/10. Okay, that's one whole. So I'm going to go ahead and put the one whole right here. And we'll see what's left. 14 subtract 10 is 4. Denominator stays the same. So it's 1 and 4/10. And we are subtracting. I actually have my 7/5 ready. One, two, three, 4, 5. There's 7 1/5 pieces. How many fifths can I cash in for one whole? One, two, three, 4, 5/5, which would leave 2/5 left over. So it's going to be 1 and 2/5. I hope you guys noticed this 5th tenth and you remember your how to change fifths to tenths. We'll talk about that in a minute. I'm going to show you a different way for 7/5. We were able to subtract out the 5/5. 5/5 is the one whole. It's equal to one whole. And 7 subtract 5 is 2. Denominator stays the same. All right, how do we change fifths to tenths? Double, double. Double the numerator, double the denominator. 1 and 4/10. Subtract 1. And if we double the 2, we get 4. If we double the 5, we get 10. And looky there. Anybody see it? 1 and 4/10. Subtract 1 and 4/10. What would that equal? 0. So 14/10 subtract 7/5. If we double, we get 14/10 is equal to 0. Love when they give me a 5 and a 10. All right, a recipe for cookies, yum, calls for 5/4 cups of brown sugar and 3/2 cups of white sugar. How much sugar is in the recipe? So we have 3/2 cups of white sugar and 5/4 cups of brown sugar. How much sugar is in the recipe? It's not asking you for how much more of one type than another you have. It's asking you to put it all together. All right, so we're going to add 5/4 plus 3/2. All right, here's my 5/4. 1, 2, 3, 4. There's my 5 1/4 pieces. Can I cash any of those in for one whole? So it'll be 1 and 1/4. 5/4 is equivalent to 1 and 1/4. So we had 5/4. We knew that 4/4 would be one whole. 5 subtract 4 is 1. Denominator stays the same, so we had 1/4 left. Then we have 3/2, 3 1/2 pieces. How many can I cash in for one whole? Hopefully you know that 2 halves make a whole. So that would be 1 and 1/2. So we had 3 halves. I'm trying to show you guys both ways, with the models and without. And we know that it takes 2 halves to make a whole, so that's where the 1 whole came from, which leaves 1 half. All right, we're going to start by adding these whole numbers. 1 plus 1 is 2. All right, we have to change the denominators to find like denominators. Your denominators do not like each other, and probably we should have waited to add those, not really in 4th grade, but just always make sure you have like denominators before you add your whole numbers, because eventually you'll start regrouping. All right, so we have 1 and 1/4, and then 1 and 1/2. Well, 2 is a factor for 4, so this mixed number is going to stay the same. We're going to count by 2s. 2, 4, there it is. There's your least common denominator. 1, 2. 2/4 is equal to half. You guys know that. So we're going to use 1 and 2/4. And we're going to add 1 and 1/4. All right, now we're going to add these whole numbers. 1 and 1 would be 2. Add your numerators. 2 plus 1 is 3. And then your denominator stays the same. 3 is 1 less than 4. So this fraction is simplified. So how much sugar is in the recipe? 2 and 3/4, or 3/4. Cups. 2 and 3/4 cups. All right, now we're going to try this bonus one, a little 5th grade math for you. Let's switch my page. We have 10/6 improper fraction, and we are subtracting 3/4. This one is proper. So we're going to change this to a mixed number. All right, so we have 10 1/6 pieces. Hopefully you guys are already thinking about what the mixed number would be. How many of these 1/6 pieces am I going to be able to cash in for 1 whole? One, two, three, 4, 5, 6. 6/6. So 10/6 would be 1 and 4/6. 1 and 4/6. So without models, we have 10/6. We know it takes 6/6 to make 1 whole. So you're taking this away and changing it into 1 whole. 10 subtract 6 is 4. Denominator stays the same. So that's where the 4/6 comes from. That's the part that was left. We couldn't get any more 1 whole pieces. And we're going to subtract 3/4. Do your denominators like each other? No, they do not. So we have to find the least common denominator. We have 1 and 4/6, and then we have 3/4. 4 is not a factor for 6. 6 is not a factor for 4. So we're going to have to change both of these. All right, so we're going to just start by skip counting by the denominator, since that's what we're looking for, is a common denominator. 6, 12. I know 12 is a multiple of 4. 4, 8, 12. So it's going to be twelfths. All right, now we've got to count by the numerators. 4, 8. So it'll be 1 and 8 twelfths. 3, 6, 9. So 1 and 8 twelfths subtract 9 twelfths. So 1 and 8 twelfths subtract 9 twelfths. All right, your denominators like each other. 1 subtract 0 would be 1. However, 8 subtract 9. 8 twelfths subtract 9 twelfths. Are we going to be able to do that? No. So we have to regroup. We're going to borrow from this 1 whole. Okay, this is 1 whole. And pay attention to your denominator. It's twelfths. How many 1/12 pieces would I need to make 1 whole? How many 1/12 pieces would I need to make 1 whole? One, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. 12 twelfths. So we're going to borrow or regroup. We're going to take this 1 and we're going to, we were cashing in for 1 whole. Now we're breaking the 1 whole up into its pieces, which is 12 twelfths. So the 1 whole is going to become 12 twelfths. You cannot forget, guys, that you still have this 8 twelfths. We're going to add this 1 whole back to the 8 twelfths. Okay, we haven't done anything with 9 twelfths yet. It's just kind of hanging out, waiting on us. 8 and 12 would be 20. Your denominator stays the same. So 1 and 8 twelfths is equal to the improper fraction of 20 twelfths. So we basically, the first 3 problems we did, we were changing an improper fraction to a mixed number. In this example, we had to go from a mixed number back to the improper fraction so that we could do the subtraction. So now, instead of using 1 and 8 twelfths, I'm going to use the equivalent improper fraction, 20 twelfths. And I'm going to subtract this 9 twelfths. (20) subtract 10 would be 10, but we're only subtracting 9. So that would be 11. Denominator stays the same. And 11 is 1 less than 12. So that fraction is simplified. So 10/6 subtract 3/4 is equal to 11 twelfths. So this is more of what you will be doing with fractions in 5th grade. But you guys are ready. You're doing great with them. All right, guys, that's all I have for you today. Take care, and I will talk to you in my next video. Bye-bye.